So to exemplify your trait, I'd really like you to make it a habit of doing this Enneagram talks on a channel, and to make it a regular habit.
Okay.
In order to, I don't know, to advance with our research and to make everyone interested more and understand more. Because I came from the other side. I'm not coming from the bottom. I come from the top somehow, and this is how I wrote the Enneagram Origins. And this is how I'd like to work a little bit now. I'm going to present you a few ideas, and from that we begin to construct an Enneagram. Okay.
Okay.
So the ideas are: first, when you take contact with an event of reality, you need a vision. Without vision, which comes from that third perspective you have inside you, that third dimension, you only have a flat representation of what you see. You need that vision. You need that place of depth inside of you, which will provide you the vision, which is usually something which is of a ternary nature, which is something and its opposite at the same time, or none of them. In this case, when we want to, I don't know, for a scholar purpose, to analyze the Enneagram of relationships, the vision we need and the vision we start from is that there is a place where a man and a woman are together because they at the same time are really together, and at the same time they are together because someone believes they are together, because this is both society and individual level. We are together because we are in reality, or we are together because we think, or everybody thinks so. And this is the vision, is that there is this place, which is a story. Let's say it's Adam and Eve, where things are coming from. And there, let's say Adam and Eve are together because in our imagination, in our representation of reality, we decide they are together, like we are writing a story, like we are writing a novel. And they are together because I make them to be together in my head. And at the same time, I am nature and I am society. I am nature because their relation comes from what I decide, from what I make happening. And at the same time, I am the society which knows they are together. And this is the formal part, let's say, the what people think. At the same time, I am the people who think they are together, and I am the nature which, like a gardener, puts them together. And this third position is where everything comes from. And for the entire humanity, the entire relation, all the relations between men and women, this is the myth of Adam and Eve, which is basically the original sin of breaking sexuality, sexual energy in two, in man and woman, which makes possible the relation between man and woman. At the same time, this story is something we write, or heaven writes, or nature writes, but at the same time, it's something that happens because we are here to see it. We are here to believe it.
Okay.
It's difficult to explain the third force, because you see, you always fall into one of its polarities. This is why it's so difficult to talk about it. But at least we have to try to say it exists, and there are humans who will have this experience, and they will recognize what I'm talking about. As long as you think as like a binary robot, and you have this flat representation of things, you will not know what I'm talking about. And whatever I say about third positions, you're going to put
right or left.
Right or left, yes. But this is the vision. This is where everything comes from. And it comes from an impossible point, like when Adam and Eve fell from heaven, which is, mythical. And it goes back to the point that where Adam and Eve go back to heaven. So this is the entire origin and purpose of relations between men and women. They are both an imaginary point. Like we said earlier, they don't need to exist in order to create all the degrees of the actual relationship in the world. But they are there as part of the process, like you said. And it's important to know that the higher notes Even not only necessarily the last one, but even the first one, the first do and the last do, they're not necessarily existing in order to, they only need to be potential at the level of words. If there are no words for it, it cannot work. Because there exists so little, they're basically absent like death. Nothing comes from death. But if there exists like a word, it's existing enough, which is in existence from the metaphysical point of view, but it's existence enough in order to create a tension between something that exists only like a word, inexistent, and something that exists in like material, you know?
This will trigger a process.
Yes. It's there in the process. It belongs to the process. It comes from abstract, goes through reality, through material, and goes back to abstract. So when we talk about relation between a man and a woman, it's absolutely obvious that this is the point where all comes from, and where it goes back. Because even at the level of society, humans know at some conscious level that you marry in order to soul mating, you know? Because you need to soulmate to go back to heaven, right?
Yeah.
So they know that this is the abstract point where we come from and we go back. If we talk about relations, okay?
Yeah.
So we have this vision. Once we have this vision, we have to break it down into the two forces of the triangle. I'm more of a specialist in the triangle than of the Enneagram because I care more about the volume, the existence, the space than about the time. Enneagram is more time than space. The triangle is more space than time. The triangle is simultaneous space. Enneagram is, like you said, stages, which is time. Okay? Yeah. So I said that, we can say it again, that law of three is more of the law of the space.
Yes.
Space of God, especially. And the Enneagram is the law of time, especially time of God, because the only possible way to be replicated in all processes is that it is something that it's in every process. And the only idea that corresponds to this omnipresence is God, right? So it's a law of God. Now I break it down, this vision, in two parts. An existence that exists because everybody thinks it does, not necessarily because it really does, which is society, right? And the existence which exists even if nobody else sees it, which is nature. You know that question, if a tree falls in the forest, it happens or not. This is a false problem. It happens from the perspective of nature. It does not happen from the perspective of society. But we have two different forces, two different shocks. And of course, one is superpresence and one is absence. We have to see which is which, because
I don't think we can pin it. I mean, society can be absence sometimes, and society can be superpresence.
Because of perpetual movement, they switch places. But okay, this is not really relevant for this type of discussion now. But it's clear that we have that story. We have the force of society, which is, mind you, human's evil mother. Mm-hmm. And nature is human's stepmother, because we come from heaven, and we have this. When we fall from heaven, the world projects into itself and its opposite.
True.
World of nature and world of society. You know, which is, one is more animal level and one more the demonic level, which we are separate.
So, animal level, it's more here. And
yes.
Demonic level is more here.
Sure. Yes. Sure.
And in both cases, an outside mother, right? Like stepmother and evil mother. So it's something outside that has to do also with the inside mother.
It's mother because we do not exist without it. We cannot exist without nature, obviously. Because you cannot exist without being born. Yeah. And you cannot exist without society, because look, Jordan Peterson had a great example. Like, if you take two fish, and the last of their species, and you put them in ocean and say, like, breed, they will not, because they miss the bank of fish. So the humans cannot breed. It's impossible to think that you have two humans, the last, if you are the last on the planet, I will never mate you. It's true. Because it's even impossible. This is not my choice anyway. And besides, we miss the city, we miss the current water, we miss the heat, and in the purpose, right? You cannot do this without society. It's your mother, but it's an evil mother. Society preys on you. This is how society works. It preys on the individual in order to exist as a whole. But nature is stepmother because it loves you a little bit more than society, but it still betrays you at the end of the day from the spiritual perspective.
From the spiritual perspective, I mean, she grows you for almost half of your life.
Yes, takes care of you.
Spiritually half, let's put it more maybe. So
it's still not for your own interest. It grows you in order to make the species go further. So it's stepmother, right?
Yeah, stepmother. Yeah, but
we have two stepmothers.
It gives you a chance, right? I mean, without it, no chance whatsoever for nothing.
To exist.
Yeah,
sure. Provides you existence, but with the price it's not for you. So society more or less is the same. We have two mothers and a father. The celestial father, which is heaven, and two mothers. And this is of course the other way around. And when you cross the level from this mythical perspective to the actual perspective, you cannot have two mothers and one father. But you can have one mother and two fathers. So